So, this looks like this is a thing from Men's Health apparently a few days ago. The Batman repeats a major Star Wars and Marvel error with Catwoman. And this is the problem with media. And when people say woke or forced agenda, and if people go, no, it's just you being this. Check out what this article says and how dumb it is, and already the people are inaccurate in what they're talking about. So, by the way, this has Batman spoilers apparently. So if you haven't seen the movie, don't click off, please. Like click off. But this is the dumbness and ridiculousness. I'm not even saying the whole thing is off. I didn't read the whole thing yet. I've read most of it, but already I was like, "What are you talking about?" So got the Batman open in cinemas on Friday to much fanfare and deservedly so. Matt, and they always do this now. I keep catching them where they give them props and then they try to force the agenda afterwards. There's a Ghostbusters one. I have to find that one and talk about that too because I've seen that and I'm like, they're like, well, we wish we could have got the female lead, and I'm like, but you got a female lead. Why is it that every time you get what you want, you then ask for more? Like, it's crazy. Anyway, uh, this is the Batman open in cinemas Friday to its fanfare. Matt Reeves' interpretation of the Cape Crusader, a character who has been re-envisioned countless times since the inception in the 1930s, is a unique take on a troubled vigilante. Now, they say refreshingly, Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne isn't the playboy billionaire we've seen before. He is, in fact, rather emo. And I'm getting sick and tired of everyone saying he was emo. Emo normally is somebody that's being like edgy and over the top for no reason. You could be like, hey, it's a sunny day. Is it a sunny day though? Or is the sun just burning our souls? That's an emo. Like they find the darkest thing. He's brooding. He's angry. He's hurt because, he actually has real problems in a situation of he lost his family and he's not coping with it well, which in turn turns him into the things of Batman. He's not just being some guy who just wants to find the dark. Anyway, set against a grunge-inspired film noir Gotham, Bruce's job is less to fight the bad guys and more to save Gotham from itself. That's if you see the movie, that's actually inaccurate. His main thing was to fight the bad guys. He wanted vengeance. So this person's already telling me how they're inaccurate with what they watch or how they're interpreting things. His thing wasn't about saving as much as about I want vengeance, which in turn led him fighting crime. A problem of which he is at the center. To help, he has a faithful lieutenant, not yet commander. You mean commissioner? But sure. Commander. Now he's Commander Gordon, even though he's supposed to be Commissioner Gordon. But okay. Played by Jeffrey Wright, and occasionally the stealth skills of one Selena Kyle, not quite yet Catwoman. While the noir stylization relegates Selena into a femme fatale role, Zoe Kravitz adds a surprising amount of gravitas. And admittedly, she really did. Through all of her tryings and everyone's tryings to take that down, she was written as a very well to do character. She had the femme fatale thing, but she was more than that. But I digress. And apparently, an element of queerness to the film, Kravitz said, she interpreted her relationship with a character named Annika, a fellow waitress at the Iceberg Lounge, a mob haunt run by Colin Farrell's Penguin, as some kind of romantic relationship. When a reporter commented on being happy seeing Selena finally portrayed as bisexual, she replied, I agree. Now, the Selena bisexual thing, from what I understand, is a more recent history kind of thing. The new Catwoman Hunted, they kind of played up on that a little bit. But to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, that's more recent. Number one. Number two, it said Kravitz interpreted the character that way, not Matt Reeves. So we don't know if he wrote it that way. He could have implied it, but she played the role thinking that, okay, I'm playing this up. So that's how she interpreted her role. A lot of times when actors are playing a thing, they're not thinking of every other character. They're thinking of the motivations of their own character. So she interpreted her character that way. Just like when Christian Bell had the first costume on, he said like the mask was actually the polymers and paints they were using was giving him like making him have headaches because it was so strong. So he used it to be Batman to kind of push through it harder because he said criminals will make him have a headache. That's how that works. We agree to up. Wait, we agree to up to a point, and that point is the happiness. So the clues that Selina is by are buried so deep in the subtext, you need a spotlight as bright as the bat signal to find them. She refers to Annika as baby a few times, but then others calls her simply my friend. Comparatively, she macks on Batman within mere minutes of meeting him. While we would never deny the palpable chemistry between her and Pattinson on screen, the difference between the two relationships is staggering. Blockbusters have had trouble representing queer relationships on screen for a long time. From Valkyrie's cut bisexual romance in Thor Ragnarok. Thank you, tablet. I thought they cut out the fact that she was gay. Valkyrie, from what I understand, is not bi. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I have to look into that. In Star Wars, very firm rejection of the potential bisexual relationship between Poe and Finn because they're not bisexual. That was some fan shipping crap. Like, ah, jeez. Big studios, it seems, are more concerned with not upsetting a portion of their fan base, the toxic one. It's not toxic to not want to see certain things if it doesn't pertain to the film. Her being bisexual with that relationship, would it have changed the desperation of her character? She cared about this person and this person was missing. That's the important part. Okay. So, back to this. Between Poe and the big studios, it seems, are more concerned. Okay, yeah. The toxic one, than portraying these worlds in any way that reflects reality. Yeah, a small portion of reality, and that's not to say that I'm not trying to discourage people, but there's only a certain percentage of people that are bisexual, gay, and everything like that. And should they be represented? Yes, they should. But that doesn't mean that every single time you see something, it needs to have a representation to the point where you're trying to force it on characters like Finn and Poe. They're not bisexual. The end. Now it says, yes, you could easily argue that these films are decidedly hyper-real. However, when directors explicitly say that they're going for a grounded, real-world approach and are excited for how their films will shape cinema, there is no way to excuse a lack of explicitity, queer relationships, so explicit queer relationships. We might forgive the transgression of subtext queerness there if you want to see it, but easily whitewashed if you're a homophobe. That's not how that word works, but okay. If there was anything else to make up for it in a film, but there isn't. Annika has been dead this whole time. So, not only is Selina's one bisexual relationship, which the actress interpreted the idea of it that way, that is not anything from Matt Reeves, the story, the guy who wrote the story or directed it. She just felt that's how she connected to the character. Let's see, one bisexual relationship, not explicitly confirmed on screen. Even if we extended the latitude of the Batman of taking subtext as fact, then the Batman falls firmly in the trap of burying your gaze. Also, fringing in which the death of a female character is used to spur another character's action, usually a man, though in this case the trope still stands. The what? Catwoman is the reason. Annika's death is why Catwoman felt progressed to go forward and to do this. Okay, Annika's death is what prompts Selina to finally take revenge on Carmine Falcone. So the trope still stands, even though inside the trope that you just named, you clearly stated it's normally the man being driven that way, except it's not. which technically means it's not the trope because you changed it to trope by using a woman to go after it. This isn't to say we didn't like the Batman, nor Kravis' portrayal of Selina, or our umbrage is with the consistent refusal to explicitly acknowledge queer characters and relationships with the same weight and importance as straight people and heterosexual relationships, while simultaneously trumpeting the progress and real-world impact of these blockbusters. Until queer characters and relationships are treated equally on screen, the claims, whether by fans or studios or actors, of the transformative quality of cinema must always be taken a massive pinch of salt. See, this is why this stuff is ridiculous. Okay? I get it. I'm not, if you want gay representation. Now, what's funny is that I don't watch every single thing on television. But I talk to people who watch different shows. And they talk to me about how there's a lot of times there's very pushed politics. Now, these aren't people who are super geeks or the toxic fandoms. There's very, people that just do their thing. And they will bring it up and be like, hey, there's a lot of, they're like making out. Like, my friend brought up something, I think it was Power? Or, what's the other show with Terrence Howard? And that had Cookie in it. Empire. He said that something that stood out to him was that whenever it was, they would do scenes. And it seemed like whatever he was watching, he said that when it came to the men, they went like extra when it was the man on man. Versus the women, it was very subdued. But it felt like they were really pushing it. It was like long and it was uncomfortable. And the funny thing is, he said that, and I know this for a fact, it would also bother him if he's seen it with women because it seems weird. That's not like normal when you normally see stuff. Man or woman, man on man, woman on woman, or man and woman. So don't even try to twist that on me. The simple thing is this. The fact that this article not only exists, but it clearly talks about a bisexual thing from a bromance. And that is something that I've actually noticed has been happening lately. If you have two men who are friendly or become close or have a really good connection, all of a sudden it turns into, well, they must be bisexual. And it kind of did that thing with Tim Drake to a degree. That's what it felt a little bit like with Tim Drake. Now, people can make their argument or whatever about it back and forth. I don't agree. I have to read a little bit more of Tim Drake before I could even do the video on it because I've kind of pulled away from some comics. And it's not because he's bi. I didn't like the story they were going with. It had nothing actually to do with that. But when people said the thing about Tim and Superboy, they were like, that shows right there that he was there. I'm like, because he took it the hardest. And I'm like, so that instantaneously means he was attracted to him? Even though none of the thoughts that you read, none of the thought bubbles, none of the interpretations said that. There wasn't a thought. Usually when a comic book does something, they want to imply something, they put thoughts there. There was no thought balloons. There was no nothing of him going, man, I am attracted to Superboy. Or I'm really starting to fall for this guy. Or, man, he's great. Like, nothing like that. But yet people took it because they were friends and that was his best friend. And his best friend died and he did everything desperate to do it. Now, here's what's hilarious. My friend's daughter said that if he was to try to die, she would put him on a machine, find a way, even if she has to rob a space alien, to hook him up and basically let him live in a iron body lung thing. And I went and I would help her. Because I don't want to lose my freaking best friend. That's like my brother. That doesn't mean I have romantic feelings for him. I care about him. We've been through a lot together. And he is my boy. He's literally like my brother. Even his brother goes, yeah, you guys are like brothers. He's more than my best friend. He's my brother. Now you're going to sit here and try to tell me that means that now I'm bi because of that? You see how that doesn't make sense? Finn and Poe had a connection just because there was a good there was just a good feeling. Sometimes you meet people and there's just a good connection, and that's what they had. He gave him his name. That's not a I'm interested to sleep with you thing. And then it's funny because it's like in the story, if you watch that Batman, if you interpreted it as them together, which I did, I was like, okay, she seems to be with her. Did that impact the story? No. If you changed it another way, would it have impacted the story? No. And that's where the problem comes in. How did this affect the story? It kind of didn't. You knew that this person was important, and because you knew that that person was important to Catwoman, Catwoman did everything in her power to try to find the person she cares about. Now, if you interpret it as, hey, that's her lover, fine, it works. If you interpret it as that's her very close friend, fine, it works. That wasn't the important part. The important part was if you were actually paying attention instead of trying to figure out if Commander Gordon, because that's a thing, and actually knew what you were talking about. This sets Selena on the path to start protecting the wayward women who were getting attacked, like Catwoman Hunted, where she starts this more anti-hero kind of Catwoman that we've seen in more recent years, where she's using her thievery to do heroic things, kind of like Robin Hood. She's no longer just sitting there doing that. So I don't understand why it's the Marvel problem. And like I said, I think the Valkyrie thing was a gay thing. And there may have been reasons. It could have been something as simple as they cut out time because, in all honesty, Valkyrie felt better as a character with the mystery behind her. Now that she's going to show up in future movies, that's where you should start to explore her relationships. And no, I do not accept her being the king of Asgard. No, she's a queen. No, she's a woman. So she's the queen of Asgard. No, don't try it. That's how I view it. And last I checked, she identified as a character. She identified as a woman because she did show up in the Exile, a version of her, or I think it was her that showed up in the Exiles comic, and she identified as a woman, a lesbian woman. So no, she's a queen then. Anywho. That was the article. Tell me what you think. That was my thoughts. Geek Protagonists, you stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. And I'll see you.